Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this flashlight that you see in my hand and that you probably saw on a rifle throughout the intro. It is the Modlite PLHv2. So previously we have reviewed this guy right here, which is the OKW. So the big difference between the two, and these are their two weapon mounted options that Modlite does make. The big difference is the OKW is designed to have freakishly high candela, which it does, and it really throws a beam really far. I think I said it in that video. This is a legit 300-yard light. You know, you can hit steel easy at 300 yards. You can positively identify easily at 200 yards with this thing. As you guys will see, we're going to show you guys some beam comparisons here in a second. But the PLH is kind of designed as a more all-around type of design. If you look at like the marketing literature, they say this is their choice for home defense and outdoors, sort of like a mixed bag use. That said, I would feel comfortable using this indoors. Just make sure you use the right techniques to bounce the lights and those sorts of things. But this one still has plenty of candela for sure, as you guys are about to see, but it's just not quite as much as the OKW. Now this is in the short body configuration. It does come rather in a longer body configuration, which takes a different battery. But the only difference is not the output that you get, it's just the runtime. So the runtime on this one's right around a half an hour. Runtime with the longer battery and the larger body size is going to be right at an hour. So like I already mentioned, we're going to do some beam comparisons here, and we're going to be using the Surefire. This is the Dual Fuel Pro here. So this is their highest output weapon light. So it's got a very different beam pattern though, as you're about to see. And one thing to keep in mind is with this light here, it's the same size as the Surefire mini scouts. So although we're comparing it to a much larger one. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. But before we get into the beam comparison, I want to go ahead and thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is TacPack. TacPack, for folks who don't know, is a monthly subscription service. They basically send out somewhere between $99 to $120 worth of stuff. Generally speaking, it's EDC type gear that folks who watch this channel will probably like, and they do so for a subscription fee of $49 a month. Also, the code here on your screen will get you a bonus gift for signing up. There will be a link down below to do so as well. And if you order now, you'll get it in time for Christmas, whether it be for yourself or someone else. Either way, guys, thanks to TacPack for sponsoring the video, because we all know it's going to be demonetized. Now let's check out those beam comparisons. For those of you that are new here, the spot where the wood fence meets the iron fence is approximately 35 feet away. Those trees back there are 35 to 50 feet, or probably 40 to 50 feet rather. The output that you're looking at here is from the PLH. You can see we still have a nice hot center with a lot of candela, but it does have a decent amount of spill, as you guys can see, and it does have a very hard edge there where that spill ends. It doesn't sort of fade off like some lights out there. So for comparison, there is the other Modlite system, and you guys can see there it definitely has a hotter hotspot. It's tighter as well. The camera may not do as good a job of sort of distinguishing that, because it tends to make it kind of flare out with all that candela, but you guys can get a good idea of the beam pattern there. And actually across the lake right there, that's a good comparison point. That's about 200 yards away there where those trees are, and again, the camera may have a hard time picking that up, but again, for comparison at that spot, there's the PLH. The output that you're looking at right now is from the Surefire. This is their dual fuel one with, of course, the rechargeable battery in there. So you can see a very different beam pattern. The spill is much wider. The hotspot is much more diffused, less intense, less candela. And you guys can see there, again, that's the dual fuel you're looking at. And then there is the PLH from Modlite. Very different beam pattern. Different output for sure. Surefire here on your left, Modlite. If I didn't mention it already, I have the camera set in manual to as close to what I see with my human eye, but we do have almost a full moon today, so we're a couple days out from that, so we do have good, lume out there. So the spot across the lake, the tree line I should say, that's about 110 yards away from where we're at, so we're gonna get a look there at the PLH output. And you guys can see it does a really good job lighting it up. That field right there, or rather that lot, has recently been cleared. And if anybody was in there, you would very easily be able to tell they're there. You can see there's a storage shed there. It's illuminating it quite well. And then additionally, coming back over here, that is a rosemary bush right there that my dog's peeing all the time, so it's almost dead. But you can kind of get an idea of how the spill is illuminating that as well. Those are Christmas lights across the lake for anybody wondering. And then there is the output of OKW. definitely more candela. It's noticeable for sure. You guys, I'm not sure again how well it comes across on camera, but that sheds much clearer with the OKW than it is there with the PLH. If there were like small print on there or something like that, it would be easier to identify. And the big difference as well is the spill is just not the same, as you guys can see as I come across that bush there. And then kind of compare the two, we have the PLH over here and then the OKW, and get them kind of in the same tree line, OKW, PLH. And now you're looking at the output from the Surefire dual fuel, and you can see again, it's just a very different output. The intensity over there at this type of distance is very noticeable. So obviously we have a much wider hotspot, which could be useful depending on the application that you're looking at. But then there is the PLH, and you can kind of see there, really the only spots at this distance where you'd be able to like see a person holding something, for example, is within the hotspot itself. Whereas here with the Surefire, you got a little bit more wiggle room. Definitely kind of depends what you're looking for there. It's a little bit more of a wall of light for sure, versus again, here with our PLH. I don't think I mentioned it in the intro, but I just wanted to point this out, that it does work with all Surefire scout mounts out there on the market. So in my opinion, that is a huge bonus, because scout mounts are somewhat ubiquitous at this point, and as you guys can see, everything lines up just fine. I have not found a mount that doesn't work with the Modlights that works with Streamlights to date. One difference though, and you guys can probably see it just looking at it real quickly, is that the body here on the Modlight is actually larger than it is in terms of diameter on the Surefire, and that's because it uses a different type of battery. So it is an 18 millimeter diameter body, and that enables it to use a battery that is bigger than a CR123A. And again, on the short configuration, you have the 1350 battery here. It does come with two of them. It also comes with a charger, so that way you can charge them. But very powerful battery for the size, especially the actual head itself, I should point out, is fully potted. So the electronics in there, what that means for folks that don't know, is that basically the electronics are set in place, and then basically a resin-like material is poured over it and allowed to harden. So that way, even with impact or anything like that, you're not going to have any type of disconnection of the actual electronic components. We've done some drop testing, as you've seen, and it's done pretty darn well so far. And the tail caps on it are compatible with the Surefire tail caps as well. They're also compatible with the switches. So that's a huge feature that a lot of people really like about these lights, because Surefire switches, again, just like their mounts, really kind of are the industry standard at this point. And you guys can see everything is O-ring sealed there. This one obviously has been underwater. We've had zero issues with it in terms of that, but that's how it goes together. That's how the battery goes back in. And again, like I said, it does come with the charger for the battery from Modlite. Now that you've seen the light up close and personal, just a few closing thoughts here, a few things to cover on it. Number one is going to be the drop test. We did 4 drop tests from 6 feet onto concrete. You guys probably saw some of that footage. The light, as you can see, is still fully functional there. I should also mention that the interface, which I didn't talk about there, just like Surefire, so you can momentarily press and hold for momentary on, and if you want to click it, you'll get constant on. And again, you can switch that up with different tail caps that they do offer. Body is all aluminum. It is 100% made in the United States, and on the bezel here, one of the drops kind of pushed the outer sleeve into the sleeve around the actual bezel itself. And it's touching it now, but obviously does not impact function at all. I know, as of when I'm filming this, there have been recently some torture test videos on the Modlights where, in my opinion, they did fantastically well, but other lights did better. That said, these things are super durable, and in terms of, if you're selecting a light and durability as a priority, I would absolutely look at the Modlights. This thing has done really well. Like I said, that potted electronics in there is a huge bonus that very few companies offer at this point. Again, made in the United States, so one con to this light for sure, without question, is going to be price point. So they're not inexpensive. Now, this particular light was sent out by the folks over at Brownell, so I really do appreciate them sending out, so that way we can bring you guys this content, and obviously it allows me to be as unbiased as possible. But price point is high on this sucker. You know, a lot of people complain that Surefires are expensive, and they are. Both, of course, are made in America. Both are expensive. Modlite is more expensive with the configuration that you see here with the charger and the tail cap. This thing comes in at $309. Now there's some coupon codes and stuff like that that Brownells offers. Check the link in the video description or pinned in the comments if you guys are watching this. And if you're watching this like 5 months from now, just shoot me a message on Facebook if you need the current code so you can get it a little bit, you know, under $300 generally speaking out the door, but that is not inexpensive. So you just have to kind of think, are rather all the features that I just talked about, are they worth it to you for that price point? But performance-wise, this thing is fantastic. You know, the Candela and the lumens that you guys saw earlier, there's not a lot of lights out there that are going to compete with it at all for all-around use. I think this is probably the light that most people should go with from the folks over at Modlite. That said, the OKW can work. I think you just need to have a little bit more training for indoor use with that one. But this one here is going to go on one of my home defense long guns, so I really can't give it a higher compliment than that. I like it that much. I think it's fantastic. And one thing I should address here before closing it out is the rechargeable battery aspect of it. So I've mentioned in the past, and it's still true to this day, that lithium rechargeable batteries, or rather rechargeable batteries, do lose charge over time. That said, the new ones that have come out over the last year or two, they lose almost nothing. So you're going to lose probably less than 10% over a year if you don't actually use this and just have it up on your weapon, mounted up for home defense rather, and ready to go. So that is certainly a good thing. 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case, but modern battery technology has gotten to be fantastic. And of course, being rechargeable, if you want to train with it a lot as well, you can do so without having to pay the cost for those CR123As, which certainly are not inexpensive. But I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything that you guys need to know. If you have any questions that we didn't cover in this video, by all means, you can post them down below in the comment section. You can also reach me over at my Facebook page if you need a question, if you have a question that you need answered. I get back to everybody over there. Sometimes it takes me a little bit because there's literally hundreds of thousands of you and only one of me, but I do see them there, whereas on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Instagram, Parler, whatever, other places that I post content, I don't always see the comments. So there is that. So if you're not subscribed, you like this type of video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, make sure you hit the notification bell, hit the like button, all of those sorts of things. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.